Today, we're going to get into a pattern that is so powerful and for so many, so personal. We're talking about why we sometimes find ourselves drawn almost magnetically to relationships that hurt us, and why it feels so impossible to walk away.
This quote, it just nails it, doesn't it? That feeling of walking a tightrope between the intense desire for love and the very real pain that comes with it. That's the knife's edge we're going to be talking about today.
Now, to really get to the heart of this, we're not going to start with a bunch of abstract theories. We're going to start with a story, a real-life look at a woman named Jill whose experience might feel, well, pretty familiar to some of you.
Because that's the goal here, right? By understanding her story, the hope is that we can shed a little light on a pattern that might be playing out in your own life and maybe help you see things in a whole new way.
Okay, let's dive in. Let's meet Jill. On the surface, she's a bright, successful law student, but she walks into a therapist's office with this one, single, burning question that is just completely consuming her.
And just listen to that. Right away, you hear her core belief, don't you? The problem has to be with her. She's absolutely convinced that if her relationships keep failing, it's her fault. And if she could just fix herself, she could make the pain stop.
Her latest relationship with a guy named Randy was a total whirlwind. I mean, look at this timeline. It starts with that immediate electric connection, but in just 1 week, she's all in. Cooking for him, pressing his shirt. By week 2, it's a full-blown obsession. She's calling him every night, basically acting as his therapist. And the result? Totally predictable. By month 2, he's telling her to back off. And when she makes a desperate move and flies to see him, he just ignores her.
And the really heartbreaking part, this wasn't some new, shocking feeling for Jill. This desperate chase, this need to win love from a man who was distant, this was a rerun. She'd already lived it with her ex-husband, and it actually started way before that, with her own dad.
So, you see, Jill's story isn't just a sad tale about a bad romance. Nope, it's a classic textbook example of a very specific psychological dynamic. So let's zoom out from her story and actually define what we mean by loving too much.
This chart just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you have healthy love. It's about give and take, security, growing together. But loving too much is a whole different ballgame. It's driven by obsession, it's defined by emotional pain, and it's often more about being in love with a dream than with the actual person in front of you.
And here it is, the core definition from the source material. It's not about loving too many times, or even having too much love to give. It's when obsession wears the mask of love, and the only way you measure that love is by how much you're suffering. So how does this pattern actually show up in real life? The book lists a whole bunch of characteristics, but let's just pull out a few of the really key ones that people who love too much tend to share. As we go through them, just see if any of them, well, ring a bell.
Okay, number 4. This one is huge. It's this deep, paralyzing fear of being left alone. That terror is what's in the driver's seat, making you do almost anything to keep a relationship going, no matter how bad it gets.
And then there's number 7. This is that tendency to just soak up all the blame. Just like we saw with Jill, right? If something's wrong, the immediate gut reaction is, it must be my fault, I have to be the one to fix it.
Next up, number 11. Now, this might sound a little extreme, but it's the idea that the relationship itself starts to function like an addiction. You get hooked on those incredible highs and those crushing lows, creating this powerful cycle of craving and withdrawal that feels impossible to break.
And finally, number 15, which reveals this really strange paradox. A partner who is kind, stable, and reliable, well, they don't create that familiar chaos. The drama that comes with an unavailable person feels more exciting, more real. So someone who is just genuinely good to you, they can end up feeling, well, boring.
So a pattern this powerful, this self-destructive, it doesn't just materialize out of thin air. So where does it start? The source material is crystal clear on this. The roots are almost always found back in our childhood home.
The whole thing is built on a foundation where your emotional needs just weren't met. But, and this part is so important, it's more than just a lack of hugs. It's growing up in an environment where your reality, what you saw and what you felt, was constantly denied. You learn very early on not to trust your own gut.
And here are some of the hallmarks of those kinds of homes. You know, it's not always about big, loud fights or obvious problems. The real defining feature is often the secrecy, the big elephants in the room that no one is allowed to talk about. When major issues are just swept under the rug, a child learns to deny their own reality.
Okay, this brings us to the million-dollar question, right? If that childhood home was so painful, why on earth would we unconsciously seek out people and situations that feel so similar when we're adults?
This cycle here really lays it all out. It starts with that original wound, that unmet need from childhood. That leads us to pick a partner who feels familiar, who's unavailable in a way we recognize. And the unconscious hope is that this time we can win. We can fix the old struggle. But of course, the pattern just repeats, and it makes that original wound even deeper.
And this is why blaming ourselves is so seductive. It's painful, yeah, but it's also a powerful kind of hope. It's a way of taking back control. Because if the problem is me, then maybe, just maybe, I have the power to fix it. If I can just be better or smarter or more loving, I can make them change. And then I'll finally get the love I need.
So, the first most important step in breaking this cycle isn't about changing yourself to finally please someone else. It's about finally understanding the pattern itself. It's about seeing it for what it is and where it came from.
There's this great old story that is just the perfect metaphor for this whole thing. A guy's looking for his lost keys under a streetlight, and someone asks him, "Did you lose them here?" And he says, "No, I lost them down the block, but this is where the light is." We keep looking for love in the same familiar, well-lit, but ultimately empty places just because we've always looked there.
And that's what we'll leave you with. This pattern is all about searching for something absolutely vital in a place you can never ever find it, simply because the territory feels familiar. So the real work, the real question becomes, where have you been looking? And is it possible there's another place to search?